Let's continue with problem number 5. We have what's called complex fractions. We have a fraction over a fraction. The first thing that we want to do, we want to be able to simplify the denominator, which contains two fractions. So I'm going to pretend or assume that this is not here. I want to be able to have the same denominator. So in this case, I'm going to multiply the left by y. On the right hand side, I'm on the nx. When I multiply it out, I'll just have y over y times x will be just xy in alphabetical order plus 2x over x plus y, or x times y. Now that I have the same denominator, I can go ahead and add the numerators. It will be y plus 2x, not times. It will be 2x plus y. Alphabetical order, the x is first, and the y. You are adding, so don't combine them. Over xy. Many of you guys are making the mistake right here on your quizzes. It's adding, so there should be a plus in between. The denominator stays the same. Now on top, we have a 6 over x, 6 over x. Now I'm going to change my fraction or my division. I'm going to change it to a multiplication by taking the reciprocal of the second fraction. I have to take the reciprocal of the denominator of the second fraction. It will be xy over 2x plus y. The x cancels. Therefore, I have 6y over 2x plus y. Many of you guys are tempted to cancel the y, but you can't because this is a whole factor, not just the y. If it was multiplying 2x times y, then we can cancel it. But in this case, we can't. Let's continue with problem number 6. On problem number 6, we have a division. When we have a division, we want to be able to convert it to multiplication, just like we did on number 5, by taking the reciprocal of the second fraction. I'm going to go ahead and factor as I flip it. So the denominator over here, just so I don't forget, there will be a 2. I'm going to factor this out. Is there a number that divides 1, 14, and 49? No. Do they all have an x? No. Nothing to take out. So I have an x and an x. Factors of 49 are 7 and 7. Both have to have the same sign. In this case, it's a negative. Denominator. Factors of 4x squared are 4x and x, or 2x and 2x. This case will be 4x and x. 7 will be 7 and 1. That's a positive. So they both have to have the same sign. In this case, they're both negative. So it'll be 7 and 1. 28 minus 1 is negative 29. On the denominator, or the 64x cubed minus 1, that is the difference of two cubes. So it'll be a, one number multiplied by itself 3 times gives you 64x cubed, 4x. B will be 1. Now, at this point, you should have your formula memorized. If you don't have it memorized, you're going to get this problem incorrect, 0 points. If there's a minus in between, it will be a minus b, a squared, that's a negative, the next one's a positive, ab plus b squared. Four x minus 1, a squared will be 4x times 4x is 16x squared. This is a negative, the next one's a positive. AB, so it'll be 4x times 1 is 4x. And b squared will be 1 times 1 is 1. Now we can see what cancels. That 4x minus 1 cancels. That x minus 7 cancels. Only one of them. On the numerator, we have x minus 7 denominator we have 16x squared plus 4x plus 1 divided by 2. Let's continue with problem number 7. On problem number 7 says, what are the solutions to the following equations? Now, as you guys can see by your answers, you are not able to factor. Your answers are not whole numbers. So we're not able to factor. If we didn't have this 4 on the front, then we can complete the square because this is even. But when you complete the square, you cannot have a leading coefficient. Therefore, we are forced to use the quadratic formula. We have x equals negative b. So this is negative 8, so it'll be positive 8 plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. A will be 4. Now, if you guys notice, I'm doing this in 2 different steps. Kind of makes it a little bit easier at times. So b squared is negative 8 squared minus 4, a is 4, and c is positive 2. Gives me negative 8 squared, 64, minus 16, multiplied by 2. 64 minus 32 is 32. So that's the discriminant. Now the square of 32 is 16 times 2, and the square of 16 is 4. So x is equal to negative 8 plus or minus 4 square root of 2 over 8 and over 8. Notice how I separate my fractions. Negative 8 divided by 8 is negative 1. I'm going to go and reduce my fraction, so it gives me 1/2. So plus or minus 1 over 2 square root of 2. Notice that I did not simplify the 2 as well. You cannot divide it by 2 and get 1/4 as well. You can only do the whole numbers on the left hand side. So my answer will be letter A. Let's continue with the back side. Problem number 8. It says, which of the following graphs is narrower? Narrower is our keyword. Make sure to highlight it, underline it, circle it. Now, if it's narrower, we're looking for a bigger number. So make sure you write that on top. So we're looking for a bigger number than 5/3. 3 goes into 5 twice, and no, once, and there's 2 left over. So 7, remember the negative or positive, the only thing that it does, it flips it, but it doesn't change the shape of the graph. So 7 goes into 3, 3 divided by 7, 7, nothing, so that is 0.4. 4 times 7 is 28. So that's too small. I'm looking for something bigger than 1 2/3. 2 goes into 7 twice, and there's 1 left over. Or 3 times actually, and there's 1 left over. So your answer is B. 5 goes into 7 once, and there's 2/5. It's slightly smaller. If you cannot tell the difference between, or if they're too close together, you can always make the long division. Many of us know that 2/3 is 0.6, so it'll be 1.66. 2/5, it will be 1.4. So the only one that's bigger is letter B, which is 3.5. So notice 2 things. If the fact that it's negative, it doesn't affect the shape of the graph. It does affect whether the shape is facing up or down, but it doesn't affect the shape of the graph. So don't worry about the negatives on this type of problem. If you're not able to distinguish by using mixed fraction, which is the bigger number, you can use the long division to compare the fractions as well. Let's move over to problem number 9. It says if the following equation y is equal to 2 to the x power is graph, Now, y is equal to 2 to the x power. That is an exponential growth or decay. That's a growth, correct. So if this is graph, which of the following values of x will produce a point close to the x-axis? You want to be able to make a sketch. If you're not able to make a sketch, you can also plug in points, let x equal to 0, let x equal to 1, let x equal to 2. But if you already know that this is an exponential growth, your graph will look something like this. If not, just make a quick table, just like we've done before on your homeworks. Now, if I plug in a 0, I'll get this point here. If I plug in a 1, I'll get this point here. Plug in a 2, get this point. Plug in a 3, I'll get this point. Now, which one will produce a point closer to the x-axis? The smallest number or the bigger number? Correct, the smallest number. So we're looking for the smallest number. 1/2 is 0.5. 2/3 is 0.67 or 666. 3/4 is 0.075. 5/9, not sure. So remember, the first number always goes inside. 9 goes into 5 0 times. 45. So 5. So B and D are very close together. So your answer is B.